The number 5 thing to do before you make a business decision is to collect data. Relevant data. Don't go crazy. You don't need every piece of data. But if there are numbers that you can look at that are relevant to the situation, pull them out, take a look. Welcome to Breaking Down Your Business, episode 245.
And everybody's turning
You can find the show notes to this episode at breakingdownyourbusiness.com/245. The whiny one is Jill from Founding Moms.
And the loud one is Brad from Anchor Advisors.
And we got a great show for you today.
Yeah, maybe.
We are going to talk about your process for making decisions. Have you ever thought about how you make decisions?
I hope so.
We're going to talk about how you make decisions and how you can make that better. And then Nedra, who is our guest on episode 133, is calling in with an update.
Yeah.
And then we've got the top 5 things to do before you make a business.
I love when you can't read. Top 5 things to do before you make a business decision.
It's not that I can't read.
It's that you can't speak.
Yes, it's the tongue.
Yes, that's good for a host of a podcast. That's beautiful.
So, Jill, last time we talked about how making decisions is like a basic task for business leadership.
Yeah.
Do you have a process for making decisions? Like, how do you make a decision? Exactly.
I look deep inside my gut and I say, what are you doing about this? And my gut tells me, and then I go do it. Do you have one? Oh, are you going to tell us like some 12-step plan you have?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, no. Really?
Yeah. I've got the top 5 things before in this episode, and then later on I've got the top 5 something else. So, yeah, there's a big, long process there. And part of that is that if you don't have a process, how can you ever improve your decision-making?
Because you hone the gut. You fine-tune the feeling. You guys can't see my hands. I'm pushing together my hands.
Give me your process for fine-tuning your feeling.
Well, it's that I throw something against the wall, it sticks or it doesn't stick, and if it does stick, it fine-tunes my feeling about the thing.
Excellent.
And then I just keep going. So maybe that's my process. Throw, sticks or doesn't stick, fine-tune. There you go. I have a 3-step process, guys.
Thank God Nedra's calling in.
Hey, Jill and Brad. This is Nedra Rezinas with Blue Deer Forest, and I just listened to the episode podcast talking about how you get help when you're taking multiple months off. And I have a story to tell. I had my baby back in 2010, and I knew that I needed to take some time off, so I did what Brad suggested. And I contacted a colleague to help out with work and take over email and help out if colleagues or clients had problems. And it worked out great, and there was no competition. If anything, people were willing to wait for me when I came back, which actually started working about 6 weeks later, which I was just needed like some structure around having a baby and working. And so it worked out really good, and I feel like there's a lot of different industries where that could be just fine, especially if having a colleague you trust. And then they can do the same to you. And I know that people that do that for vacations a lot. They'll have someone they can rely on and they trust, and vice versa. And it's a really good system, especially if you're a solo business owner.
So, Jill, you remember back in episode 236, we talked about how to take a long time off. And one of the things that I suggested was to get a colleague or, even a competitor to cover your work for you while you were away. And Nedra took some maternity leave. Mm-hmm. Then it ended up being 6 weeks, and it worked out for her. And at the time, you said that it was something that you thought more people should do.
It is.
What do you think holds people back from doing that?
Control.
Say more.
I think that folks fear that somebody else will screw things up, take business away. All of the worst fears you can possibly come up with enter the brain when you're thinking about handing over what you are normally controlling. And so it's very scary to do it, and I think that's one of the reasons that it's good to listen to this podcast, to talk to other people who have done it, is because the more you can hear that it's the norm or something that doesn't actually hurt people, the more you go, oh, I should try that, or I can do it.
Well, and I also think that it's not like we just have to call somebody up at random and say, here, take all my clients for 6 weeks.
Yeah, you're not doing this with a stranger.
Right.
Yeah.
It's someone that you can get to know over time. Generally, you're going to have to take time off at some point.
Yeah.
And then secondly, it's not like you have to just be blind the whole time. Like, you could still get copied on emails if you want to look once a week, or you could just touch base with a client or with the person that's covering for you every couple of weeks and make sure things are okay. And it's not like you're on the moon either. I mean, if there was an emergency, someone could probably reach you.
You never know. Maybe somebody's going to the moon.
Well, that would probably take more preparation. You probably have to take more than 6 weeks off.
Elon Musk
to
or
do
Richard
that.
Branson are listening. You never know. You have no idea.
Okay. I'm just saying that's maybe a longer
I'm
period
just
of time.
suggesting. But I also think that for those of you who are thinking, oh, this could never be me, this is for other people but not me, you're the people that we're actually talking to.
Yeah.
And you need to question what's going on there, that you won't hand anything off.
And one of the things I've been reflecting on, I've been in business for myself for 18 years now. And I'm getting jealous of some of my friends who have sabbaticals from their company after 10 years or something like that. I think that we as business owners need to start thinking about how is it that we take a long time off. We need that time away to refresh, just like college professors do, just like people in industry do. And if you can't take that kind of time off, it is going to shorten your life as a business owner.
Or you didn't think at the beginning about setting time up to take off. You kept setting it up to eventually sell it, retire,
right.
the end.
This
And
sprint
instead of
idea.
looking at the end, Brad and I, who've been in this game a long time, are suggesting, just why don't you do it in the middle? Let's start in the middle, practice it, and then you can also do it at the end.
Yeah. So this is something that I've done in the past. I've turned my business over to a friendly competitor for a couple of weeks. Jill, your business, you don't actually, well, if you
no, I definitely turn it over to people, but they are people that I've hired who are freelance.
So what would happen if you took a month or 6 weeks off?
I would set it up so that all of those people are prepared to handle whatever could come up, and even if I didn't tell them certain things that would pop up, I know that there are people who could handle it. And by the way, I'm not a brain surgeon. Nobody's dying without me. That's very comforting when I'm in the middle of a rainforest.
Right.
Although I've never been in the middle of a rainforest, but when I am.
When you go to the Rainforest Cafe,
Exactly.
maybe. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right.
Okay.
So, Jill, this week I have the top 5 things to do before you make a business decision. You ready?
Why is it 5? You just go with your gut.
That's your whole thing. Just go with your gut.
That's it. That's all.
I might have a few more things.
Well, let's hear them.
Okay. The number 5 thing to do before you make a business decision is to collect data. Mm-hmm. Relevant data. Don't go crazy. You don't need every piece of data. But if there are numbers that you can look at that are relevant to the situation, pull them out, take a look.
You know when you're watching a movie and somebody keeps cursing but they beep it out?
Yeah.
Every time you say data, I don't hear the word. It's just beeped out in my brain. Brad, we can just go with our gut. You don't need to collect data. You've said this to me for years.
Number 5, collect data. Number 4, I want to collect some opinions.
Why?
Now, opinions aren't as valuable as data,
Yeah.
but the people that are closest to the decision, in other words, people on the front lines, people who are going to be most affected by the decision, I want to hear what they have to say for 2 reasons. Number 1, they may see things differently than I see them. So there's information there that I need.
Sure.
Secondly, once I make this decision, they're the ones that are going to have to live with it. And so I'm going to have to convince them. So listening to them at the beginning helps me maybe convince them at the end.
Or you could listen to your gut. It's pretty informative.
But what if their gut is different from your gut, Jill?
Well, they're not running your business.
All right. Number 3. The third thing I do before I make a business decision is that I look at the process or the project or the decision.
Sure.
Where is it most likely to go wrong? Like if I make this decision, I kind of have a sense at this point. I've looked at the data. I've looked at opinions.
You think that far ahead?
Where might this go wrong? And so I look for the riskiest part, and I want to set up some experiments or some tests to see if I can get some early feedback about that risky
I like
part.
that.
So, I might just set up, instead of creating a whole online course and doing all this kind of stuff, maybe I'll just do a webinar and see if people are willing to sign up for it. Or maybe I'll just set up a sign-up page for the course and see if I can get people to buy it.
Test it out?
Yeah.
Test it out by going with your gut on what might work.
No.
Yeah.
But testing it out is a good thing.
Okay.
Even if you're going with your gut.
Okay.
Okay.
Fine.
The number 2 thing that I will do many times when I'm making a business decision, after I've started testing things, I might reach out to someone else who has done this before me, someone who has more expertise, and ask for their advice.
Weird. Why are you laughing?
Because you think it's weird to ask for advice.
I'm not even going to say it. I'm not even going to say it. I don't. Okay, go on.
So by consulting an expert, I get someone who might be able to see things that I haven't seen, give me some better tests to try, give me some things to consider that I hadn't thought about.
Okay.
And then the number 1 thing that I do before I make a business decision is that I try it on. So once I kind of get to a point where I feel like, okay, this is the direction I'm going, and I've tried some tests and I can see where the risks are, I might spend a day or two as if I made that decision. Just kind of feeling how it feels and see if there's any regrets at some point about having...
Suggesting what I think you're suggesting.
After doing all these other things, then it's important to listen to your gut.
I knew it! I knew I was right this whole time. I'm going to suggest that you're wrong about everything, and everybody should just go with their gut.
So, what do you guys think? Give us a call at 708-872-7878.
I'm going to tell you what they think, because I'm going with my gut on this, and I think that they think that they're going to go with their guts.
If you want to just text us, go with your gut, or have a more rational approach. You could do that.
Can they tweet with hashtag go with
Absolutely.
your gut? Yeah.
No, with hashtag Jill and Brad.
Well, and hashtag go with your gut. I'm just driving the point home. I think that's what my gut is telling me to do. Call us, 708-872-7878. You know your gut wants to. We crushed it.